This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. Speculation is rife tonight over when the state election will be called, with an announcement possible any day now. As Tasmanians edge closer to the polls, today there were major announcements from the two major parties on law and order.
Both vying for the hot seat, Tasmania's political leaders this morning addressing the Police Association conference. Liberals promising 125 more frontline police officers statewide, raising police numbers to 1,362.
What we are committing to today will ensure that in those remote and regional areas there's an increased police presence, less stress on serving officers.
Labor promising an increase of 57.
There's a number of police officers at work right now in the police service who are working in an office, who could be out on the street working in their community to directly serve and protect.
Quicker response times to the people calling for help, and ensuring that our people have the backup that is needed and is required under law.
The Liberals to legislate for a Police Powers Act and remove step-down provisions for officers on workers' compensation.
They are entitled to 100% of their workers' compensation if they require it.
Labor's committing $4 million for station upgrades and funding for 3 general duty police dogs.
To ensure those people who need to be apprehended, who might be evading police, when we need to find people who are lost if they're bushwalking, when we need to provide additional crowd control.
The Police Association is welcoming the announcements but isn't taking sides.
I commit to having an open relationship with the Labor Party, having an open relationship with the Liberal Party, and I hope that some of these bipartisan themes keep up.
Despite the date not yet set, there's certainly pre-election fever in the air. New polling undertaken by the Tasmanian branch of the Australia Institute finding the Liberals leading by 48% in Bass, compared with Labor at just 26.5%.
The only poll that counts is the election day poll.
From the almost 800 people questioned, over 37% identified the health system as their biggest issue, followed by jobs, then a majority government, with only 11% identifying pokies as an issue.
We are redesigning the health system. We've made some tough decisions, but we've also been able to invest like never before.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Federal Group has today taken its fight to stop the removal of pokie machines from pubs and clubs a step further. Despite inviting the media to attend its latest pro-pokies ad campaign launch, the gaming giant's managing director refused to take any questions.
Minutes after rallying with staff to launch its pro-pokey anti-Labor campaign.
This campaign is designed to give you, our people, our team members, our colleagues, a voice.
It took just seconds for Mr Farrell to run away from the media. Federal Group today launched its latest advertising campaign to run on radio, TV and online, featuring staff like the country club's marketing coordinator, saying they'll all be impacted by the removal of pokies from pubs and clubs.
I've come from a Labor family voting all my life. That won't happen anymore.
And Mark, who has worked for network gaming for more than 17 years and says he approached his manager about taking part in the campaign and wasn't paid.
Just the normal money that I get each week stays the same. So no, there's no benefit whatsoever to me other than a chance to voice my opinions.
But those in support of removing pokies are standing firm.
We always expected that there would be a campaign run by the pro-pokies lobby against our policy announcement. I'm not surprised to see that happen. We'll continue to campaign on the issues that we know Tasmanians care about.
And there's a lot of evidence that shows that pokies have direct impacts on family violence, suicide rates, unemployment, things like that. So we think they belong in the casinos and pubs and clubs. We want to see our pubs and clubs become family friendly again.
A discussion paper released today by the Australia Institute suggests the Liberal policy of keeping pokies will increase taxes in pubs and clubs by around $10 million a year. Federal Group currently holds the monopoly in Tasmania, running 2 casinos and owning the gaming licence since 1973. But there are calls for the group to be held accountable.
For too long now, federal hotels have been able to hide behind the spin. It's time they came out from the cover of that money and spoke to the public.
When asked by Southern Cross News, Federal Group said it wouldn't disclose the cost of the campaign and that all staff voluntarily participated and filming was done in their own time. The campaign will run until the state election. Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
A 21-year-old man has died in hospital from significant brain injuries after being involved in a serious single-vehicle crash on the Huon Highway. The crash occurred in Main Street on January 13 at around 7:30 p.m. Two other occupants of the vehicle were taken to hospital with minor injuries but have since been released. The driver was charged the day after the crash with negligent driving causing grievous bodily harm and driving under the influence. A Rochalee man charged with attempted murder following an alleged serious assault in Waverley last week has pleaded not guilty in the Launceston Magistrates Court. Clinton Wilson has also been charged with aggravated robbery and did not apply for bail. The 25-year-old will be remanded in custody for further mention next month. The rescue helicopter has been kept busy with 6 major rescues over 2 days. Missions including a man suffering a snake bite, 3 separate adventurers with injuries and a group of 4 lost in dense forest. Authorities say their job was made easier by people carrying emergency locator beacons. Fire authorities have been on high alert today as Tasmania was hit by record-breaking heat and strong winds. The Bureau of Meteorology says Eddystone Point reached its hottest temperature ever recorded, topping 38.2 degrees. Today, St Helens reached 39.7, officially making it the hottest place in Tasmania since 2015. Of concern, the heat was accompanied by strong winds.
When you get those hot temperatures and those strong winds, we do see severe to extreme fire dangers.
Thankfully, though, there were no major bushfires reported, and while it has cooled off, a fire ban for parts of the state remains in place until midnight. Mofo's big lineup is kicking off in Hobart tonight, with more than 10,000 people expected over the next 3 days. Organisers say it's Hobart's last chance to experience the festival before the entire event moves to Launceston next year.
Hobart's turn for the festival kicked off this afternoon. The lawn's packed for what's set to be the last Mofo at Mona.
Well, come out here, enjoy this final Mofo in Hobart, but never fear because we're building a lot of new venues on site. We'll be having plenty of music and events.
Political overtones stretch across this year's festival, with US President Donald Trump a major target. Organisers have set up a hotline to the White House, telling people to leave a message.
Hey Donald, this is Brian Ritchie. As you know, I'm one of the subjects of your empire.
Brooklyn-born jazz artist Brian Jackson is teaming up with the local Southern Gospel Choir for songs of protest.
Kind of in one sense, I'm glad that Donald Trump was elected because he's actually sparked activism and movement all over the world. So I got my hats off to him for that.
As well as music, there are plenty of weird and wonderful things on offer, including a sensory experience from Dr. Dimitri, Australia's pre-eminent braingasm expert. Mofo is fresh from its run in Launceston, the taster event labelled a massive success.
We had about 6,000 people at our block party and we had good attendance at our off-site events. So that's the first year in Lonnie, and we'll be moving the festival up there in its entirety next year.
Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
The new-look Glenorchy City Council has today been declared at a ceremony in Moona. Re-elected Mayor Christy Johnston, Deputy Mayor Matt Stevenson and 8 aldermen officially beginning their duties today. The council saying it is ready for a fresh start following a controversial 3 years that ended in a highly critical Board of Inquiry report. Authorities are shining the spotlight on our justice system as part of Community Corrections Day. They're highlighting the work of people like Tony McLean, who's a probation officer, helping get offenders back on track. Despite some criticism of probation, she says it's crucial for rehabilitation.
I think it's a way of holding people very accountable for their behaviour. Sending them to prison is a punishment, but they don't have to face up to and address the causes of their offending, and that is our job to do that.
More than 500 people work in corrections, with the majority of those employed at the prison. A Tasmanian family has completed a task many of us wouldn't dare to attempt, transforming a 250 square metre cottage into a family home for 5. But Sam and Sarah have done just that and invited us to have a look at Ava, a home completely renovated in just 10 weeks.
It was fast-paced, it was hectic, it was hard. There was quite a few times where we were like, like the flooring and a few things, we were like, wow. And it was just typical renovating where or at least once a week, there were moments where you were like, hang on, what are we going to do now? Because this isn't working.
And the end result is a little bit like a Rubik's Cube. Everything's kind of working together. I'm not sure if the colours quite align, but the whole thing is intertwined, and as a family home, we actually think it works.
The home will be open for public inspection on Sunday. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market closed lower on investor concerns around the effects of a possible US government shutdown. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 8.8 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 80.08 US cents and 109.76 New Zealand cents.
A dream title fight between Hobart's Luke Jackson and Oscar Valdez will have to wait, with Jackson announcing Argentina's Alan Castillo as his next opponent. Jackson will put his WBO title on the line at West Point in a bout dubbed the Next Level.
It's no secret Hobart's King of the Ring has been eyeing off a fight with Oscar Valdez and his WBO World Featherweight title. But with Britain's Scott Quigg scoring the lucrative matchup, Action Jackson is opting to host Alan Castillo, the South American featherweight champion, instead.
It's like missing out on the lotto. I know if I keep winning, my team will make it happen.
On fight night, this room at West Point will become Tasmanian boxing's epicentre, the venue a step up from City Hall, where Jackson went 15-0 after beating Humberto de Santiago in September.
He's a world-level talent and he's yours. So that's what they're looking to push, the understanding that you've got a world-level athlete amongst you.
In name and purpose, the upcoming showdown is about taking Jackson to the next level. At 33 years old, Jackson says the dream of a world title matchup remains very much alive.
Good things take time, they don't happen overnight.
With this bout giving fans a chance to see Luke Jackson's brand of boxing.
I think it's a gentleman's sport. It's not a mug's game. To be a great boxer, you have to be very intelligent and you have to be able to speak well and you got your wits about you. And that's what I try and portray as a fighter.
Jackson's WBO Oriental Featherweight title goes on the line on Friday, the 2nd of March.
And Richie Port's Tour Down Under title defence is on shaky ground after the Tasmanian was pipped by Peter Sagan in today's 4th stage. Sitting 14 seconds behind, Port will need to perform strongly on Wollonga Hill tomorrow to have any chance of retaining his crown.
Richie Port knew a fierce battle was coming.
I think it's going to be fireworks on Norton Summit, especially in this heat.
Stage 4 considered the first genuine chance for riders to make a mark on the tour. The hilly course saw 2 of Scott Bowden's teammates break away.
Zach Debster and Alex Porter, and they're under Broadway lights right at the minute.
Port remained relatively obscure until the back-breaking Norton Summit.
It's a ridiculously steep climb. They're absolutely flying up it.
They're doing 30+ kilometres an hour. It's enough for you to get a slipstream behind the rider in front.
Port's BMC teammate Simon Gerrans led the peloton up the climb, setting up a 1-2 finish for King of the Mountain. As the business end approached, Port found himself in a drag race with Peter Sagan.
Port goes again.
It's a cheeky move.
But when it came to the showdown, the Tasmanians slipped back.
Here's the attack into the bend by Impey, goes wide.
Finishing among a flash of cyclists at breakneck speed.
The world champion puts his head down. Luis Leon Sanchez in third. The world champion gets it on the line.
Peter Sagan taking the ochre jersey. Port sits 14 seconds behind. Tomorrow's stage 5 is from McLaren Vale to Wollonga Hill, a climb Port won in last year's tour.
A Prospect Vale golfer has taken out 3rd place in the 2-day Tasmanian Junior Masters at the Riverside Golf Club. Ryan Thomas finishing 5 strokes behind overall winner Elvis Smiley. Smiley shot rounds of 71 and 68 today to finish 14 under par. Ryan Thomas performed better than Smiley in today's session with rounds of 70 and 67, but it wasn't enough to clinch the overall win. Meanwhile, Victoria's Ashley Hall claimed the women's title, finishing the tournament 5 over par.
Good evening. Hobart 31 today. Launceston and Burnie reached 34 degrees and Devonport a top of 24. The warmest today was actually the hottest recorded temperature in Tasmania since 2015, 39.7 at St Helens, which of course rounds up to 40 degrees for reporting purposes. Fingal recorded 39.2, Eddystone Point 38 degrees and Friendly Beaches 37. Warm along the east coast. Wynyard 34 today. Bushy Park 33, Flinders Island 32. Lyawini warmed up to a top of 29. King Island and Grove 28. Now on the cloud map, an elongated band stretches from southern Western Australia out over the Southern Ocean off the Bight, ready to cross Tasmania in fact. Cloudy conditions over northern Australia continuing the thunderstorms there. Most of the rest of the country cloud free. A patchy band of middle and high cloud moved over the state with low cloud over the south and west. Tomorrow a high moves over the Southern Ocean south of the Bight. A trough extends from central Australia to over the Tasman Sea. Winds north-northwesterly at 15 to 25 knots ahead of a south to southwesterly change, reaching 30 knots in the south. Variable winds inland. Now for tomorrow, possible drizzle for Hobart, a top of 20, 27 and partly cloudy for Medina. Oatlands partly cloudy as well on 25 degrees. For Launceston, hot and mostly sunny, 30. Bridport, a top of 29 and excellent polo weather, I'm told. Devonport, mostly sunny and 23 and 25 the top for Lyawini. For Burnie, mostly sunny and 23. Strawn a bit of cloud, 23 the top and 24 the high for Marrawar. And for St Helens, drizzle at times, 22 a big drop from today, 21 the top for Swansea and Orford. UV ranging from a very high 8 in Hobart to 12 for the rest of the state. There's Sunday's map. Morning showers over the northeast with a light shower over the central and north. Fine on Monday apart from a shower over the west and south. Mainly fine on Tuesday apart from a morning shower over the west, south and east coast. Sunny in Perth tomorrow. Partly cloudy but fine for Adelaide and Melbourne. A hot day for Canberrans, 38 degrees. And sunny in Sydney and Brisbane. Little cloud moving over at the moment, 16 degrees in Hobart, 26 in Launceston, 23 right now in Devonport. Off to the polo tomorrow, Joe. I know it's more your style than mine, but I'm thinking a pair of apricot tailored shorts with boat shoes and one of those polo shirts with the collars tipped up above your ears. That'd do the trick, wouldn't it?
Oh, you look dashing. Good luck with that. All right. Thank you, Murph. Well, that's all from the team for now. Have a wonderful evening. Hope you enjoyed the tennis. We'll see you a bit later with updates. Bye-bye.